Welcome to another episode of Challenge. And fun fact, obviously we do this before and after the ESL Challenger event, Darth Mike and I. And I actually decided to move an entire house 24 hours before I got on a plane to go host Challenger. I finally got home, but there's just boxes everywhere. So apologies for this very makeshift setup. Mike, your background looks much more professional than mine. So thank you for leading us properly in terms of quality here.
Yeah, just the ramshackle bunch of shoes really sells the professionalism here. I also need to redo my studio room a little bit, but it's like a little bit of kindred spirit from my end, but definitely not the same challenges of moving.
No, quality microphone though, so I'll give you that. Let's jump straight into it. This is how it goes. We do a before of ESL Challenger, and then we kind of come back and have a look at our predictions and what happened at the event. Straight off the bat, our predictions were dog shit. We got it all completely wrong. Nowhere in my wildest dreams had I got the Aussie boys from FlyQuest to make the playoffs. Never mind a finals. Mike, I mean, you were pretty harsh on them as well coming into this. Did you expect them to be the ones to lift the trophy?
No, didn't expect that at all from FlyQuest, frankly. I think we were saying they were a chance to make playoffs, but not a lock by any measure. They really made us eat crow. They really made us eat our words, for sure. And I'm very happy about how they did it, particularly aliStair as an individual. You know, we were talking about him as the Achilles heel, as he kind of has been in so many events before. And here he stepped up and was one of their absolute stars individually, really lit the way, especially in those late games in the playoffs, in the grand final, right? Ali was a revelation, which is super sick to see because, you know, for those of us who've been following him for a while, he's a great guy. He's an excellent teammate. He's everything that you want in a player, except for he hasn't had the lethality with the AWP, right? That's been the big problem. And here he took over. You know, he took command. He popped off. He had some really crazy clutches. That what was it? The 2v4 that was basically a 1v4 on B site or on A site rather of Dust 2 was sick as hell. Dude's nuts, right? So I'm so happy for these guys. I think it's the first time an Australian team's lifted a trophy in 7 years. So that's pretty astonishing when you think about it. These guys have been just battling their way through, going to events and getting shit on for so long. To finally have a breakthrough event is sick. And the fact that the manner that they did it, right? It's not like they like fluked through some games. Like they dominated in the BO1s. To be fair, that's just BO1s. It's kind of a rough format, but they dominated in them. You can't ask any more of that. Beating BetBoom and Saw, right? So Saw, a team that we thought was going to win the trophy. And then they triumphed over Wildcard and Big. And I mean, the Big victory was a tough one. It was a tough fought one. This is Big that's looking vastly improved. So shout out to FlyQuest, man. That was a really incredible run from them.
It really was. And I think for me, something that stood out was you did an interview with Alice. I think it was at the end where you said, like, what happened here? Because, like you mentioned, he had all those clutches. He was playing incredibly well. We do, like, a sponsored segment at the start of the finals where you have to vote for, like, your clutch of the tournament. And we said, like, had the finals have been included, every clutch would have just been aliStair because he was just playing out of his skin. But you did that interview with him where he said, you know, you said like you're beginning a lot of sort of negativity, if you like, and a lot of people have been questioning his level of play. Like, how has he dealt with that? And I think his response, I'm obviously paraphrasing, was something along the lines of like the team has supported him. He's had resources in FlyQuest. His teammates have supported him. And I really like that he did that because I think it was an important one to say, you know, that there's these resources that are available. And he said, like, I've used them. And you could see a marked difference in his play style. And that to me is really important to note going into like the RMRs of the fact that obviously the organization, which is a North American organization, has given them the support they need to try and improve. Long may it last. We'll have to see how that goes. But I did like that he mentioned that he had been aware that he wasn't playing as well as he should have, and he'd obviously done the work to try and improve.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was super interesting to hear him say that, you know, basically he was totally aware of the noise and totally aware that his individual level hadn't been acceptable. And I like that. I like that from a player, right? Taking ownership and being like, yeah, I sucked. Can't do that. So I focused on it, used the resources available to me, used my teammates and focused on the individual form, which I think is important for an offer. I think that's very important. I think at times this FlyQuest team has been so focused on leveling up in the meta, if that makes sense, of like they know they go back to Australia and play shit CS against teams that are playing shit CS, and so they've been so obsessed about the team play that maybe, you know, at times they haven't focused as much on the individual, and it is cool to see Ali take that step. I also got a chance to talk to Miss Harvey a bunch just backstage because she was around with the team. Steph is, you know, heavily involved at FlyQuest. I think she runs CS for them. You know, in addition to running the red division, and probably I don't remember what her exact title is, like VP of marketing or something like that. But you know how
That woman does
everyone
everything.
wears lots of hats.
Yeah, that woman never stops working. So
she is a workhorse. But she was talking about the fact that, you know, a big part of what they want to do with this team, with the Australian team, is level the guys up. You know, give them the resources, give them the opportunity, give them the stability that they can level up. And it's funny, we were talking about, you know, like CS contracts and how ridiculous they get. She was saying, you know, basically we want to make these guys more expensive than we'd like them to be, basically, in terms of results. And I thought that was a really nice sentiment of the resources that are being arrayed around them. So, yeah.
I don't want to take away from them lifting the trophy. It was awesome. But let's be completely honest. The first map of those grand finals, if ever there was like Counter-Strike gods and luck, it was all in the favor of FlyQuest, because the amount of times they won rounds, which they really shouldn't have, like just like weird shit was happening where I was like, damn, that's lucky. Damn, that's lucky. And then next thing they had beaten big. And I was like, if that hadn't have happened, I think we would have been having a very different conversation. Yeah.
Very potentially. But I mean, even if you look at the Vertigo, right? That was an overtime game. I mean, this was just neck and neck between the two teams. And I do want to take a moment to praise Big a bit as well. They looked like a much more comfortable, confident team, all in all, this weekend. Not just in like, I mean, in the server, definitely, but also just in the way that, like, talking to them around the venue, like they're definitely more comfortable with the direction that the team's heading. Doing the interviews, just seeing them, right? They're a team that's always like friendly and smiley, and you know, but you can tell when things aren't going well in a roster, even just the way you see people carrying themselves around an event. You can tell when it's not like, you're not relaxed, if that makes sense, right? You're not relaxed in your own gameplay. You're not relaxed with your teammates. You're not relaxed in the moments between games. And Big is looking a lot better in that sense. I think the Saw victory is a really good one that they can hang their hat on, even if they didn't take the trophy here. I think they had a lot of fun with the crowd as well. The crowd was surprisingly big positive. They really, there was like one guy, this guy Ryan, who was I guess he's a I forget what he does exactly. He's like an army weatherman, I think, for like something, the Air Force or somebody. And he was just the loudest dude in the arena the whole time, and he was a big fan. So yeah, they had a one-man cheering crew that then turned into a many-man cheering crew. And I think Big really shone, maybe in part because of that.
I really liked the way they played throughout. And I did like the fact that both the teams, because obviously that challenger format is brutal, right? It's best of ones the first day. If you win both of your best of ones, you're through. You win your group, and then you kind of do the winners one. You go all the way through to the semis. And the winners, from the two groups, it was the two teams that kind of went through the winners bracket that won their semis and met in the finals. That for me was kind of cool, because it was like the two best teams of the tournament were first and second. It doesn't always happen that way. Normally you have a team drop to the loser bracket and then they force their way back up. But it was nice to see both FlyQuest and Big firing on all cylinders. And for both of them, I do believe it's like one of those maybe the second last of the last tournament before the RMRs. So it's an exciting one for us, because we've had that chance now to see them at a high confidence level, right?
Yeah, I think it's really encouraging, and I think it's good to see like they're adopting some more of the regun elements. You see Searson looking a lot more comfortable as a result of it. He kind of shut the bed a little bit in that grand final, so maybe Searson's not beating all the allegations. Still work to do on that front, but like these are some of the big. Oh God, I hate the team name because it makes you do that. Big question marks about this team, and they're at least being partially answered. In terms of like, what's the pace going to look like? Are we willing to adapt the style at all? They're starting to do that. How are the individuals going to look? Is Crimbo going to get involved a little earlier, which he has been? Is Searson going to look comfortable on that op, which he's largely been? Maybe we still need a little bit more Searson data on land, but that's fine. That's fine. It's better than it's been in a very, very long time.
For sure. Now, you mentioned there about big on land and how they looked quite comfortable, and you made a remark about, you can sometimes see when roster changes are coming because teams outside the server look a little bit shaky. Holy cow, the Saw drama. Obviously, if you're watching this now, Saw comes into Challenger. Both Mike and I are like, listen, they're probably going to lift this trophy. They're the favorites. It's one of their first events after IEM Cologne. We're expecting magical things. And then it wasn't so magical. They lost in the best of ones, which I'm always like, it's a best of one, it's fine. But then obviously just didn't perform. They got into the semis, didn't really look that good against big. I mean, they were fine, but there was some sort of, I don't know, they didn't look energized to me. And then straight out of Challenger, we hear that one of their best players has been benched. Everyone on the internet's like, well, he must have been signed somewhere else. And the dude comes out and tweets, at the time of this recording, I think he tweeted like last night, hey, I'm actually looking for a team. What the hell happened? Did they look uncomfortable behind the scenes? Did you get any sort of feeling that this was going to be happening?
No. Not
what
at
the
all.
fuck?
I'm so confused by this one. This news caught me so off guard. They look perfectly fine and comfortable. Like, I don't know. I've seen them at a couple of events now, and yeah, I had no hint that there was anything wrong with this roster or that they'd be looking to make changes. I mean, I think they got a little bit of a smack here, but I think they knew. I think that they're very realistic about the fact that having one fluke run is different from sustained success. I do think that the way they went on that run at Cologne made me think that it would be sustained success. And I think that I still think that. But this is real trouble in paradise, right? That arrozdoce is out. I don't get it. Like, from the reporting, it seems like he had basically told the org that he wanted to explore his options at the end of the year. And the best I can think is that they were like, well, fuck you then. You're benched. We're gonna bring someone in and build for the future. But if that's genuinely what they were thinking, that is stupid and dumb and bad. Because the major's here, right? And yeah, okay. Give yourself the best shot at this major. Give yourself the best shot at this major. If he wants to walk at the end and explore his options, you kiss him on the cheek and you wish him well and you send him out that door. That's fine. But if that's really the reason for the benching right now, and they're bringing in Aguil, I don't know. He's fine. He hasn't been that good in FTW. He wasn't one of the pop-off players. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's I'm really curious where this came from, because if this is the org coming in and mandating it, then that's gonna screw the vibes up massively. If this is the teammates being like, what a betrayal, then I guess. But it's not like, if he didn't have a contract in hand, I can't imagine his teammates thought it was a betrayal. If he's like, hey, I want to try and maximize my value at the end of the year, I don't think his teammates are going to be like, what the fuck, bro? They're going to understand. They're players. They get it. I'm also really surprised his contract ends at the end of the year, based on when they got pulled up to this roster, right? I mean, it's very short-term contracts, I guess. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
For me, IEM Cologne was incredible to watch because I'm a fan of Counter-Strike, and when you see these Cinderella stories, it's magic, right? You see this team, they start upsetting the big dogs, and they through play-ins, they're in the group stages, they upset these big teams, they knock them out, they get this magical moment of they're now in playoffs, they're in the main arena, the big stage. You've known these players for years. They were kind of just messing around tier 2, tier 3. Here they are, magic, right? They have a really good run. I don't believe lightning strikes twice. So there was a part of me where I'm like, it's really difficult these days. And I do think a lot of people don't put enough attention on this to beat those big orgs. They just have more resources. They have more spending power. They have the ability to do a lot more for their players. So chances are this went well. You're probably not going to be there again anytime soon. But what you've done is leveled yourself up to a point where I do think you could be a big, where you could be a team that sort of comes in and gatekeeps tier 2, a team that is in the group stages of the big events, that has that attention on them. I felt like that could be the place we found Saw. Then they come to IEM Cologne, and granted it didn't, IEM Cologne, they come to Challenger in Atlanta, and granted it didn't go the way they want, right? They had a shitty first day, whatever, that happens. They pull themselves up, they get through to the semis, they lose to big. It happens. But then to drop what is arguably one of your best players. And if it was a matter of him saying, hey, I want to like explore other options, like cool, like that's exactly like you said, that's fine. But the major is right here. You've had a really good run. You've gone from being, and I'm just gonna say it, the shitty team in CCT Cups doing like next to nothing and just being there, into being a team that's being spoken about at a level that you've never done before. Why the hell would you make that change now when you have no time, absolutely no time to like put in systems and work that out? And it's not like you took a piece that wasn't working. You took probably what is one of your most pivotal pieces in big moments.
Yeah.
Is mental. I think I just posted that. I thought it was weird, but inside I was like dumb. But I also sometimes worry that this is what happens when like too much success too soon. Like suddenly all the expectations are like here, and everyone becomes a little bit more sensies to everything. So if you did say, hey, like actually I probably don't want to renew, I want to see what else is out there, and like you said, then the org is like, well, stuff you, get away, like, we want sticker money. It's kind of it was just weird. The whole thing was weird, and I think that this is the end of Saw. There, I said it. When I say the end of Saw, the team will still be there, but they're not going to be the gatekeepers of tier 2. They're not going to do that other run. This will be the team we talk about in 2 years of, remember that time those Portuguese guys got on the stage at Cologne? And that's so freaking sad, man.
I will say, I think I have a little bit more hope than you.
I'm just dark and depressed inside, clearly.
I know your takes. I do think so much of this has been about the system and the overall structure of what they've been approaching. Not just in terms of what they're doing in the server, but in terms of what they've been doing in preparation, in taking time, in not just playing 50 million games of online Counter-Strike. I think Barry's been the big change, as much as I rate arrozdoce as an individual. I think that there is distinctly a possibility that they bring in a different individual, and maybe they're not 100% of what they were, but they're 80%, 90%. Like, this is still a team that can make runs, that can still make the major. So I think there's a chance. I do think that the timeline on this is super interesting, because like he joined an agency last week, right? He picked up an agent. Ulti Agency picked him up. So I do kind of wonder whether they had already had that conversation and he knew he'd be on his way out the door, or, and here's something that could happen, he joins an agency, that agency then decides to start trying to throw their weight around in the context of the team to get stuff for their player now, because they want to show that they're valuable to him. And so they're trying to maybe get him a raise, because I can't imagine he's making a lot of money on Salt, right? I can't imagine that salary when they pick these guys up is going to be very high. It's probably a fucking pittance, to be quite frank. It's certainly not top 10 team in the world salary, or even top 20 team in the world salary. So maybe they're trying to throw stuff around. Maybe they're trying to get him a raise before their major. Maybe they're trying to get him, some more benefits, better hotels, better flights, something from the org to demonstrate their value. Because presumably he picked them up with an eye towards next year. And making that change. And maybe Saul said, fuck it, we don't want to deal with this. Like, this is going to cause problems in everybody else. We're just going to bench him and figure that out. Which, that's then a matter of perspective in terms of whether you think that's justified or not. Hard to know without knowing the details. I think it could be a number of different things.
Damn, I hope it's not the agency thing. I really hope you're wrong there, because
wouldn't be the first time.
I know, but damn. Okay. Moving on to a team that also didn't perform up to the level we wanted, but hasn't done any roster moves this week, thank goodness. M80, the hometown heroes. What happened, Mike?
Yeah, they shit the bed against Wildcard. Yeah, I look, I'm disappointed for them. I'm massively disappointed for them. They're massively disappointed themselves, I think. The reality is Wildcard and M80 has been a back and forth series, online. I think Wildcard's doing really well. It's super exciting in that front. I can't believe they did this well with Friend standing in, but he adapted so damn quickly to this team. Like, I think they were impressed by how quickly he picked up the playbook, because
I think they were just as surprised as everyone else that it was working out.
Like, when I was talking to Stanislaw on like the first day or two, he was basically like, I can't call the way I like to. Like, I like to call very elaborately. They have a lot of very elaborate rounds in terms of what they want and who they want where, when. And you can't do that with a stand-in, right? But then I think by the end of the weekend, they were calling a lot more of their playbook than they expected to be able to, because Friend was just picking it up quick. So big props to Friend. This should be a nice feather in his cap in terms of getting a team at some point. Also, apparently, he told me they'd been looking into him like at the beginning of the year, potentially as a pickup. So that was an interesting nugget. So Wildcard had already been very aware of him and had been scouting him before they decided to go with the Swedes. But yeah, M80. We'll focus on M80. It's definitely a slap. It's definitely a disappointing one. Speaking to some of the staff, I think they're hoping that this serves as basically like a little bit of a wake-up call of like, you're not hot shit yet. You had one good run. There's a lot more work to do to be hot shit. So I don't know whether it was that. I don't know whether it was taking Wildcard too lightly or preparation or just in the moment letting it get to you. Maybe Amouranth's aura was just too much in the arena. They couldn't deal with that. She wasn't actually there for that game, but she was there for a previous one. So she's got a commanding aura, shall we say. So maybe that was, I don't know. I don't know what it was exactly, but I hope that does serve as a wake-up call to, double down and work harder and get ready for the RMR, because that's really going to be the big one for them.
Her commanding aura off topic. I did have a laugh on that first day when she was obviously in the arena for one of the best of ones. And the cameraman found her. And then the cameraman didn't leave her. And we had a game going on. And we spent a considerable amount of time with the camera on her. And I did have a little giggle in the green room. And I was like, look at this cameraman, and the whole of production choosing to not go into the game. But there you go. I mean, she did draw some eyeballs, I suppose, which was quite fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had to point that out because it did make me laugh. But I suppose with the M80 thing as well, I don't want to dismiss Challenger, because I think for a team like M80, Challenger is really important. But also at the same time, I think coming off a good run at Pro League, knowing that you're going into the RMRs, you can kind of look at this and go, okay, wasn't our best run, but it's a really difficult format. It's a pretty hectic 3 days. Let's take the good from it, and let's, like you said, use it as a bit of a wake-up call. It's not the end of the world. We just move on to the RMRs, right? Because I think qualifying for the major is... I got that impression from all the teams, actually, in all their interviews with you. Most of them, the RMRs are where their focus is. This was...
100%.
For all of them, this event was purely just prep for the RMRs. That's how everyone was looking at it. Not to downplay it, but it wasn't the one that they're going, this is where we want to peak and win this. They were all going, we need to do certain things here, try different systems here to see if they're going to work when we get to the RMRs.
Yeah, I think for M80, there was a little more skin in the game than there was for anyone else. Their CEO was there. Their whole staff was there. It's an NA event. There were a lot of M80 jerseys in the crowd. They had support. Blake's new girlfriend was there. They had the fan base turned up. So I think
Orkies.
Not being able to... What?
I said, Orkies.
I think not being able to perform in front of that crowd, in front of the home crowd, kind of sucks for them, because they are building quite a groundswell of a fan base in North America, right? Like, people are turning up to watch M80 specifically, which is cool. They're a great team. I love that. I love a new org coming in and sort of very organically building up a fan base. I think I like a lot of what they're doing from an Oregon team perspective. So I think for them, this one mattered more, which makes it extra disappointing that they biffed it. But I agree. Yeah, everyone's focused on the RMR. The major is the biggest thing, making it through to the major. I mean, we've not had M80 stickers yet. I will mourn the fact that if they get M80 stickers, it won't be the old logo. But, the new logo will look cool slapped on a gun. But yeah, I think that is going to be a big focus organizationally for them. And I hope that this does serve as sort of a little bit of a slap to focus in and lock in for that one.
I think I don't want to focus too much on Wildcard's performance per se and how they were playing, just because it was a stand-in. So I don't think that we can really take much from it. I think they worked with what they had. But I was super surprised by their tenacity and the fact that they made it through to the semifinals. And there were moments, their comebacks that really impressed me. In terms of they would be in a game, I'd be like, they're out now, and they would just sort of figure it out on the fly. So I'm kind of excited for what they might look like, obviously without Friend. But I think if that is the foundation of what we're getting, I know there was all that banter between M80 and Wildcard, which I freaking loved. But right at
Yes.
that the winners interview with Sonic, where being super cheeky, saying, we beat you with a stand, and imagine what's going to happen when we have our main roster. I kind of got super hyped for that matchup because I was like, I'm digging this vibe. I'm digging the rivalry.
Well, it was the RMRs in Monterey where the water bottle incident happened. So there's some like the beef is real between these two teams. They like beating each other a lot. I don't think they dislike each other as people. I don't think it's that kind of real, but I think it matters a whole lot to beat each other right now. And it's turned into a very cool rivalry. Like, I like when players hold it personal, I like that. I don't think we have enough of that in CS, and it's just part of the fact that everybody sees everybody at every event, so you don't want to have real beef with somebody. But I like this kind of beef where it's like we take special pleasure in beating you. We take special pleasure in knocking you out. It's something we haven't had in North America for a long time, right? Like the only special beef has been like, we're the best NA team. We're the best NA team. And then getting eliminated by Euros. This is like, no, we specifically want to beat you. It's not about being the best NA team, although that's part of it. But it's you're gonna talk shit on Twitter if you win. We're gonna talk shit on Twitter if you win. If we win, like, you're gonna feel this. You're gonna think about this for a day or two. If you lose right here and now. So I like that. I like that a lot. As far as Wildcard, I'm very encouraged for them. I think Sus having a great series in the M80 game is dope because he had a little bit of a quieter tournament at times. I think that JBA had some moments, but there's definitely more to see. I think he's definitely still getting comfortable with playing on stage and playing in front of a crowd. Young dude, inexperienced, completely understandable there. But I think that there is a lot more to give in terms of level from what we've seen from him online. And I think he'll get there. And I do think, Fuzi back in. Fuzi's been one of their top performers, without a doubt. Friend was phenomenal as a stand-in. But it'll be really cool to see them with the full five that they're supposed to have. So I'm very encouraged by Wildcard. I think Stan is playing really well. When Stan first came back, I wrote him off very quickly, and I was wrong to do so. He's playing very well individually and calling nicely.
For sure. So now if we take a look at if we look at Challenger Atlanta in one big picture, what for you was your best moment about the whole event?
My best individual moment. I think seeing FlyQuest lift the trophy. Man, like, those guys have been trying for so long, right? And they've just been getting shit on by everyone, us included, for so long, right? Like, there's people talking on every podcast and everything. When they come up, it's just like, dismiss. This isn't going to do anything. And they did it. They lifted a trophy. Look, it's not the biggest trophy you can have, but it is an international trophy against tough competition, beating the teams that were supposed to be the favorites, right? I want to see them take this momentum, and I want to see them take it into the major, and not just be the fuck your pick'ems team. I want to see them do something with it. I think that there's some groundswell behind these players, and I think if aliStair can maintain his individual form, this could be a really interesting team. So to me, that is the best moment. I know it's like the most obvious one, but holy shit, these guys have wanted it for so long. I've known these guys. They were Greyhound at an ESEA Global Challenge, one of the first global challenges I did. And that team was Dexter, aliStair, Aircast was a player then, Malta, and then I'm trying to remember who their fifth was. I don't think it was INS yet. It might have been INS. But like seeing them, Dexter going on his Euro tour, coming back home, seeing those players grow and develop and change as people and players, like, they've been at this for a long time. They've been hungry for it for a long time. So it's super sick to see them have that trophy. I was telling them afterwards that I needed at least one of them to drink a beer out of the trophy before the night was over. I don't know if they did. I had an early flight. I went to bed.
I was about to say, did you know? Did they do it? But we don't.
I don't know. I told them they had to do it for me, and then I passed out. It was the end of a very long period of travel for me, so I was not in a partying mentality. But
more than fair.
Hopefully they did.
So my favorite moment also involves the Australian team, not FlyQuest though, Rooster, who played as expected. I actually thought they played a bit better. They got some rounds on the board that a bit more rounds on the board than I would have expected. But my favorite part about ESL Challenger Atlanta were the Rooster interviews, because never have I seen a bunch of players just not give a single F. That coach, I've never watched a player do an interview and say, our coach doesn't know much about Counter-Strike, but he's got good vibes. He's here he lifts the morale. That for me was super fun. Obviously, as someone who works in broadcast, I know on the other side, when you're doing those interviews, not nearly as fun, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching them, Mike. So good job on that.
I mean, I had fun with it because I just knew I was not going to get anything useful out of them. So I just mostly leaned into the jokes, asking TJP about Magic City. I don't know if you guys know this, but Magic City is a strip club. And the coach kept behind them. The GOAT was like, talk about Magic City. Talk about Magic City. They were there to have a fun time, not a successful time.
Or a long time. They must have known that they were going to go out pretty early on and they were just committed to it.
I mean, the thing is, JHD, who was playing with them, was their coach before. And even then, he was questionably a coach. He's I guess, a pugger in all his. And he mostly was known for wearing really baggy suits and giving funny interviews to James Banks after they got eliminated. So, these guys aren't taking it seriously, right? They're not bringing real coaches. They're not bringing real support. They have the GOAT, who's, I guess, also just an NACS or a Oz CS guy who's coming out to be funny and do the interviews and goof around and go to a football game and that kind of thing. They had a great time in Atlanta. I think they thoroughly enjoyed their vacation, but I don't think they came expecting to be professionals. I think they came on vacation. And the one I feel bad for is Slimy, because I think he wants to be a pro. I think he wants to be a real pro and compete. He was the only one in the audience watching FlyQuest. I'll say that. He was sitting in the audience. He was watching the team, as frankly, all of them should be. Your countrymen have the chance to lift the damn trophy. I don't know how you guys feel about each other, but it's a big thing for Oz CS in general. So, keep an eye on Slimy. I think that, Danger, who went off of this team in questionable circumstances, I can imagine a million justified reasons he wouldn't want to be with this team right now. I don't mind the guys. They have individual talent. They're fun to talk to. They give funny interviews and all that, but you just can't take them seriously until they take themselves seriously, right? It's a huge opportunity to come across and compete. And if you're going to take that opportunity and turn it into a paid vacation, whatever. But, somebody else could probably do more with it. So, yeah, whatever. They're going to have a fun time. I think ASAP's got talent. I think Chelios has got talent. I think TJP has got talent. But if you're not going to take it seriously and work on developing that and seizing the opportunity, then you're going to be Rooster. And, I can't imagine an org's going to pick them up. I can't imagine, they gave an interview where they were like, sometimes I think people think Rooster's a real org. It's I don't think that's your problem, to be honest. Maybe they do, but a tiny bit of due diligence to figure that out. I think your problem is that, you bring coaches who talk about strip clubs and how much they enjoy Atlanta instead of anything to do with Counter-Strike. I'm
with you, though, because
they've made their choices.
Yeah, I mean, I joke because I thought the interviews were funny, but there was behind the scenes where I said, it's a little bit shit when they don't take it seriously. It's shit for us on broadcast because obviously we're dedicating massively long hours to this because it is a huge opportunity. I think it's a little bit shit for every Australian fan because it is such a big opportunity. There is a part of you where just take it a bit serious, right? Don't be okay with, like you said, just making it a paid vacation. But it is what it is. I hope that maybe after this, there's also a bit of a wake-up call because it's not nice to be memed on and laughed at. And I think a lot of the fans were doing that, where it was kind of no expectations. But there were moments when they actually played really good Counter-Strike. They got some good rounds on the board and they against good teams, which kind of says, hey, there's something there, guys. There's something there, but maybe just a little bit more focus in on that might be the right thing. But who knows? I'm not in Australia, so I don't know this team.
I think
who knows?
I think there's so much talent that you just, with the weight of perspective, looking back at these young guys, you want to be able to just make them understand that this is not an opportunity that's going to last forever, and that if they want to make something of it, now is the time. And if they don't, that's also fine. Competitive Counter-Strike is not for everybody. If you want to just take your talent and see how long you can go this road of going to international events and having a good time with your buds, sure.
But it sucks for the other person who really wants to make a go of this, who's losing that opportunity. Mike,
or for the team that doesn't get the quality spot.
There we go. It was so much fun working with you, even though we're never actually together, which is super weird. And we've got one more challenger. And again, we will not be together. You will be in Poland. I will be in Sweden. I do believe this is the first time we'll get to see Simple back on that Falcons lineup in CS2, if I'm not mistaken.
Other than the one series he played against Metasport, yeah.
I don't count that.
It happened. I'll just tell you it happened. But yeah, hopefully going to get a few more games out of him here. It could be an exciting time. The GOAT's coming back, and I'm not talking about the Aussie guy who likes strip clubs.
There we go. We'll have a before for that one coming up in the next 2 weeks. Mike, thanks so much. I'll chat to you soon.